Well, the professor and Ace encounter Arthurian legend. Not really. Well, this is one of those where, the past's tales of magic and wonder is all because of aliens. Or at least beings from another dimension and stuff like that. So there's actually some elements to this that probably could have worked, but, well, wrong era, wrong ability, and, well, but the Brigadier returns for the final time in full uniform and everything, so, that's cool. Poor Jane Marsh, she does all right as Morgaine and everything. And it's always, at first, I thought that the knights in armor would be robots and stuff, and I always thought that would be a cool device. I'm sure it's been done. I'm just blanking on it at the moment. But anyway, this is another one of these where it seems they were setting up something they might have returned to at some point in some amount of form or fashion, in that they identified the Doctor as having been Merlin. He is unaware of this, so it hasn't happened yet, is what appears to be the suggestion. And even to the point that it's another incarnation of him. I think. Maybe I'm missing that. But anyway, establishing that the whole legend of Arthur and all that was some shenanigans by the Doctor at some point. But it hasn't happened yet for him. And so this was something they could have followed up on, but of course the show ran out of time. I think they did. I'm trying to recall. I think the Eighth Doctor. Did they do an audio story, or was it a comic book or something like that? Followed up on this thing, but I don't know what they did with it or what have you. But anyway, as it goes, because I'm not a big fan of the McCoy era. And under different circumstances, maybe it could have been cool, and pretty good. I don't know. I never really warmed to him. Later on, kind of did. And some of his audio stories I didn't mind too much. But anyway, and those are few and far between that I even delved into. So, it's not fair to, label that or whatever. Maybe the rest are terrible. I don't know. Or they're excellent. But this one is just that's the Brigadier's the big thing. Even though it's mostly treated as silly, and overall it didn't seem like there was really any big stakes into it. I mean, you mentioned he's Merlin and all of that, and then it's just sort of, yeah, okay, whatever. So, and the fights between Mordred and what's his name, Anselin, okay. But I mean, it is kind of this like, oh, it's going to be this big battle set up, and then the Doctor just says, no, not on my one, all that sort of thing. But ultimately, it's like, well, the portal's not all that impressive. And then finally, the demon that summoned. Well, with the lighting and everything, wasn't that bad. But, pretty lackluster overall. Especially when Morgaine decides, I'll release him and all this sort of thing. But then the Brigadier, hey, it turns out demons from another dimension are susceptible, like werewolves, to silver bullets. So... hang on, he finally got to shoot something that dies as a result. Well, it explodes or whatever, or perhaps that sends him back to his realm, or and all that stuff. And so most of it is sort of these side gags, and of course Ace becomes the lady in the lake, but not really, because this is like in current times. I mean, if they had been pushed back in time and that's how it happened or something, and then I have to conclude that Arthur himself was an alien and stuff. He's just a pile of dust at this point. Looks like, they weren't going to go ahead and do the thing that, hey, he's supposed to come back. But I suppose that with alien technology and stuff, someone could clone his remains. And the rightful king returns. I don't know. And that, he's actually in a spaceship, and Excalibur's a key, and it's fine in and of that, and it would make sense that they would get around to it. And of course, if you were to do that, the idea of the Doctor posing as Merlin was certainly something that could have possibly happened. But if it's within the narratives of the actual legend and how much of it would ring true for the Doctor, why would he be bothering with it? Well, it would have to do with these interdimensional beings manipulating humanity and whatnot. So had they ever actually returned to it, they would have to craft something of that nature. And then you could probably have it in where, well, but Doctor, shouldn't we? Don't worry, it'll all be taken care of, and they move on. Had it continued with a new Doctor in the series proper, but boy, the Doctor was really on borrowed time and it's just running on fumes, and it's unfortunate, and it didn't really have to be that way, but and I mean, I imagine at the time you hear the stories about them when it was almost canceled several times before it was finally, didn't really officially cancel, but just say, well, we'll get back to you on whether we're doing another one. Oh, okay. And, but nevertheless, there was why are we doing this anymore? And it was a good question at the time, which, sorry to say it, but it appears that was very much the case. So this is one of those sad things about, there's elements here, not that it would be a great Doctor Who romp, but it could have been fun, and especially it's a bit more ambitious than they probably should have been, of this idea of exploring the mysteries of the Doctor himself and that kind of thing. But just the idea of one story sets up another one later around the road, because you have a time traveler here. That's the sort of thing they could have done, but never really did. Not in total. But again, you'd have to make sure everything's organized as well, and that you can complete that when you're constantly having people coming in. No, you're not going to get another episode. You can't afford it. And then you're, oh, damn, now we can't finish this. So there was that situation to consider. But earlier on, when they were in their heyday, probably could have done something along those lines where you reveal that there is this future point. It's kind of like the Face of Evil with Tom Baker and Leela. It's like they never did follow up on that. When did that adventure happen? But anyway, I wasn't as irritated by it. Again, despite this not, being my least favorite of Classic Who era. And seeing it again, I was like, well, I don't see any need to be that harsh on it. But it had a lot of its dumb stuff in it, and cheap things, and just things that just didn't work. But it was nice to see the Brigadier one more time. So it does have that.